Hi there, welcome to my video presentation. I will be talking about the risk and volatility of the financial life cycle for subject ASC 302. The main topic of this subject is meeting consumers' needs, however, we will only be discussing the risks and volatility of the financial life cycle in this short presentation. The learning outcomes of this topic are: first, students can explain the factors included in the financial life cycle. Next, students will be able to describe the areas involving actuarial knowledge, and lastly, students will know how to apply basic actuarial knowledge. The first topic we shall discuss is volatility. Volatility is a statistical measure of the dispersion of returns for a given security or market index. Volatility can be measured by using the standard deviation or variance between returns from that same security or market index. Generally, volatility refers to the amount of uncertainty or risk about the size of changes in a security's value. A higher volatility means that a security's value can potentially be spread out over a larger range of values. Next, we will talk about income risks. Income risks refers to the risk that the yield of a fund investing in short-term debt securities will decrease because of a decline in interest rates. Income risk is the same concept as interest rate risk, but the former applies to funds, while the latter pertains to individual debt securities. There are plenty of income risks, such as death, disability and unemployment. Firstly, death. If some family members are fully or partly dependent on income earned by other family members, the lives of the income earner should be insured. The most obvious need is for the support of the orphans. The presence of children not only increases expenses but also diverts time from parents' opportunities to earn. Most poverty, worldwide, is experienced by single-parent families, with young children. Next, disability. Disabled people need rehabilitation, either to aid recovery or mitigate the effect of the disability. Rehabilitation may require special equipment or other provision and needs special effort from family, employer and insurance provider. Ill health does not necessarily lead to the inability to work. Many disabled people are able to live productive lives. Such people, however, are at a higher risk of being unemployed. Lastly, unemployment. In Duncan's study, 1998, the important cause of income reduction recorded is reduced unemployment, normally in overtime, or total unemployment. Unemployment might be a bigger problem in the future than it was in the past. The greater efficiency of manufacturing industry worldwide, rapid technological change and policies encouraging of free trade create pressures on companies to be globally competitive. This often means laying off staff to cut costs, and insurance against unemployment is at higher demand than ever. The next topic is expense risks. Expense risks measures the sensitivity of the insurance company's liability for the resultant in higher expense rates than charged in the premium. Expense risks include divorce, resulting the need to split households; damage to property or other persons, who claim compensation; medical expenses; interest charges, on housing loans; inflation. The first expense risk we shall discuss is divorce. Divorce is the major source of financial hardship and is most likely uninsurable. The financial ramifications involved could include a new rental or mortgage payment for a separated spouse, as well as new alimony and/or child support payments to be made for both short and long term. In other words, be prepared for the money to suddenly be in short supply. Next, another expense risk is property. People normally accumulate tangible assets as they age. The most serious loss would be significant damage to a house. Losses to cars, household appliances, and furniture are less likely to be significant, but still worth insuring. Insuring against the damage that one's own car might do to other people's property and person is likely to be compulsory in the form of public liability insurance. People sometimes overinsure. One should only buy insurance against losses that would be significant. This can be achieved through the use of excesses. It is, however, sometimes hard to find an insurer that will offer a sufficiently large excess. Furthermore, medical costs. Medical expenses can be cut into different categories. At one end, smaller costs such as visits to the family doctor are unimportant financial decisions to most people. At the other end, cosmetic operations and time in luxury hospitals that can be paid for by people with money. In the middle are expenses that are necessary, but cannot be paid out of normal income. They can, however, be covered by medical insurance. Medical insurance pools the risks, so turning irregular and potentially crippling costs into easier regular payments. The level of medical care that can be offered appears to have almost no limits and might be regarded as effectively arbitrary. Even short-run usages fluctuate significantly, and medical insurers can face dramatic changes in their financial results. The last expense risk is interest charges. The risk that an investment's value will change due to a change in the absolute level of interest rate, in the spread between two rates, in the shape of the yield curve, or in any other interest rate relationship. Such changes usually affect securities inversely and can be reduced by diversifying, investing in fixed income securities with different duration, or hedging, for example through an interest rate swap. Changes to interest rates become a problem when relatively high and volatile inflation leads to dramatic increases in mortgage payments. Interest rate risk affects the value of bonds more directly than stocks, and it is a major risk to all bondholders. As interest rates rise, bond prices fall and vice versa. The rationale is that as interest rates increase, the opportunity cost of holding a bond decreases, since investors are able to realize greater yields by switching to other investments that reflect the higher interest rate. Now, we shall talk about risks of saving. Savings is defined as the portion of disposable income not spent on consumption of consumer goods but accumulated or invested directly in capital equipment or in paying off a home mortgage, or indirectly through purchase of securities. Volatility of real returns is thus an issue even with well-selected, diversified portfolios of investments. For a typical consumer, there are other greater risks. Indeed, there are many ways of losing one's entire life savings: embezzlement by a fraudulent advisor, collapse of a financial institution from which one has purchased savings products, concentrating one's savings in one risky venture which then fails, political risks such as war or confiscation of property by a revolutionary government. Thank you for listening to my presentation. Here is my reference for making this presentation. Thank you for your time and see you soon.